Have you ever struggled to place yourself in the various style systems that are out there? From the fruit system to the David Kibbe system to the essences system. Have you sometimes sort of thought, I'm kind of this and a bit of that, not quite that? Maybe you thought you have some traits of a dramatic and some other traits of a soft dramatic, but you're also a little bit romantic. You're sort of an hourglass, but not quite. You're have a few sort of traits of what they call the banana shape or the pear shape, and you've just sort of thought you have to take a little bit here and a little bit there, and none of it quite comes together. None of it is completely giving. If that describes you, then you are exactly who I'm talking about in this video today. There's a category out there that pretty much every system that has existed ignores or just doesn't take into account, and that category is called the Celestial Silhouette ID. Hi, I'm Fatima, the founder of Poeticize Your Presence, which is a style system that helps you understand and express the architecture of your body and face and presence. It's not about measurements or micro focusing on individual body parts or becoming a slave to various trends. It's about telling your personal story through your aesthetic. On this channel, we deep dive into personal style through the lens of identity, presence, and psychology so that you can build a wardrobe that makes you feel ridiculously happy and confident. Celestial type is an elongated, sinuous silhouette. So when I say elongated, that means that sort of length typically shows up somewhere in their body. It could be that they're very long limbed, or they have a long torso, they have a long neck, they have a long face. They may not necessarily be literally tall, although they often are. So there's elongation there, and facially, the face shape is typically an oval, often an elongated oval. You will often see very elongated fingers or toes. Like I actually have some celestial influence, and you can see my hands are like really long. Um, and then there's also a sense of weightlessness. Now, this has nothing to do with actual weight. A celestial could come in absolutely any weight or size imaginable. It's more like their presence reads as a little bit otherworldly, and their structure reads as little bit otherworldly rather than super grounded. Um, so even when the person is tall, as they often are, as I've said, there's often still that feeling of lightness. Like celestial people are often quite light on their feet. You may have had people sort of say that you walk on tiptoe or you seem to float or they don't hear you coming. So like sort of you're like a ninja, you just appear out of nowhere and no one hears you coming. So those are traits that are very common for a celestial. Other key traits are a long visual line, as we've sort of discussed. So yeah, this length could appear anywhere in the body or face. It could appear anywhere or everywhere. Typically there are gentle curves, rather than sort of super voluptuous plush curves. There are rarely very sharp edges or blunt edges, so that there's rarely a sort of severe transition between facial features. Is often like a sort of blended look where everything is quite low key, and sometimes even your coloring is quite low key and gentle rather than super saturated and dramatic and contrasted, if that makes sense. Um, Fabric on a celestial, especially someone who has a high percentage of celestial in their silhouette identity blend, fabric looks best when there's some sense of fluidity and movement to it. So things that are very stiff and very sort of bulky can just look very separate from you. So fabric that has some sense of fluidity to it will look so harmonious. So you could be thinking about fabrics like chiffon, georgette, anything that's sort of mesh. So cashmere can be good, merino, silk jersey, all sorts of jersey can be good because it has that sort of pliancy of movement to it. Whereas things like rugged denim can just look very wrong on a celestial. Um, the clothing that sort of is ideal for you needs to flow rather than bulk. Like a boxy line is awful for you. Rustic textures do not work. But even though the silhouette and the garment needs to flow, it doesn't need to have a bunch of excess fabric. It doesn't need to drown you. So you want to keep your clothing sort of close to the line of the body without being skin tight, while at the same time having a sense of drape and flow, like a sort of a little bit draping at the neckline, a little back wing sleeve, as long as it doesn't get too sort of baggy, because then that will look sloppy. So you need to sort of keep in mind two words: elongated. So that's three words. Elongated, narrow drape. Like those are your keywords. So if you want to sort of go more structured, that only works if it's long and it's not severe. So you want to aim for elongation in your clothing, elongation, some sense of movement somehow, whether it's due to the fabric or the way the garment's cut, and long everything. So if you're buying a blazer, go long. If you're buying a pair of boots, go long. If you're thinking of trying a new hairstyle, go long. If you're buying a pair of earrings, go long. In my personal architecture framework, Celestial is one of 7 different silhouette identities. Celestial is long and softly sculpted. It's distinct from Sleek, which is another type in my system. Sleek is long and angular, and it's distinct from Luxuriant, which is another type, which is soft and plush. So when I am analyzing you, if you come to me for a consultation, I look at everything. I look at your hands, your feet, your body structure, your facial features, and I place you into one sort of dominant silhouette ID. So your dominant silhouette ID could be celestial, could be something else entirely, and then most people have a secondary silhouette ID as well. So it's not uncommon for someone to have, say, sleek as their primary silhouette identity and then celestial as their secondary, and then some people even have a tertiary. So that's how that works. And when it comes to celestial, people who are celestials have typically, and have explored style systems and things like that, have typically been told that they're either a Kibbe dramatic, or they may have been told they're an hourglass. They may have been told they're a ruler. They may have been told they're a Kibbe type called soft dramatic. And they've sort of, explored. I keep saying sort of, sorry, it's like a thing. I keep saying sort of. Anyway, and someone who is actually a celestial may have sort of got, I said sort of again, they may have gone on this journey, through Kibbe and through whatever other systems, trying to figure it out. This is what happens when the system that they're focusing on doesn't necessarily have the nuance that they need. So it's like spinning the block. It's like, okay, some parts of the Kibbe dramatic ID work for me, but it's still not quite working. So let me go and explore Kibbe soft dramatic. That sort of hits, but not quite. So let me go back to Kibbe pure dramatic. Well, I don't know. Let me now have a look at something else entirely, flamboyant natural in the Kibbe system, and on it goes. And while I think the systems that are out there or have been out there for a long time honestly offer a fantastic framework, we also have to look at the reality that these frameworks don't necessarily accommodate everyone. I mean, nothing in the universe can accommodate everyone. I'm not claiming to be a magician, but what I've really done is absorbed and loved and learn from the systems that are out there to try and deliver something that is a little bit more modern, a little bit more nuanced, something that actually was created by someone who sort of traveled this style journey, and also created by a woman, because the sort of the leading lights out there in the style system industry, if you like, it's a very niche industry. The leading lights out there are all men. Nothing wrong with being a man, but most of the people who are actually navigating the systems and booking consultations and what have you are women. So I think it's really nice to have more women actually, discussing these systems and creating our own categories and building on the fantastic legacy that was already there to make it even more nuanced and to fit the life and body and lived reality of women in the world now. Anyway, I went on off on a little tangent there, but that's the um, that's the ethos behind not only the celestial idea, but behind my system as a whole. So if you are a celestial, rather than thinking you have to squeeze yourself into sort of being super romantic and wearing ruffles and that sort of thing, or on the other end of the spectrum, that you have to squeeze yourself into super sharp lines like sort of a Kibbe pure dramatic would, for a celestial, think silk in motion. You might be celestial if boxy tailoring and this whole sort of oversized, relaxed fit stuff, if it just makes you look absolutely absurd, you might be celestial. I had an experience, I think it was, yeah, just like this past week, where I'd seen this gorgeous jumper or sweater as it's called in the US. I'd seen this gorgeous sweater in the store COS, which is one of my favorite stores, and it was like I could see on the hanger it was kind of like boxy and oversized, but I thought the color was gorge. I thought let me try it on in a smaller size, just maybe it'll be okay. And I tried it on, and it was like it was even in the smaller size, it was that whole boxy, oversized thing, and I looked absolutely horrendous. And the store assistant, the sales assistant, um, told me it looked fantastic because that, I mean, it did not look fantastic, but that whole sort of oversized boxy look is very in, it's very trendy, it has been for quite a long time. So I think some people, it's almost like their eye is trained to think that looks good on people. Like he really seemed to like this thing on me, and then he even tried to get me to buy an even bigger size to be even more boxy and oversized. And I was, he was a lovely guy, and I was just like, thank you so much, I'll think about it anyway. um so if boxy and relaxed fit things just don't hit for you, that can be a sign you're celestial, but actually that could also be a sign that you're sleek. So merely having a sort of horrible response to boxy and oversized relaxed fit outfits could mean that you're celestial. Another sign is when things like ruffles and puff sleeves and stuff like that feel like they would make sense for you because you've got that softness to you. But when you put them on, they look absolutely terrible. They just look wrong. They look separate from you. Could mean you're celestial. Another sign is people describe you as graceful. Like you could be, and I've actually even had this experience, you could be running around looking crazy. You could just be wearing whatever. People describe you as graceful and elegant and blah, blah, blah. That is often a sign of someone who's celestial. Also, if you find that items that are like garments that are close fitting but are rigid in structure almost work, but just look a little bit off, and items that have sort of a lot of drape to them, a lot of fluidity and beautiful silky weightless fabrics almost work but aren't quite there, you may well be celestial, because what would work for you would be a sweet spot between the two. Items that closely follow the silhouette of the body but also have that movement, that fluidity, that sort of weightlessness of texture. These garments are not actually that easy to find because it's like a sort of blend of the softness and the weightlessness, but also you want to avoid things that just have too much damp fabric and are baggy on you. So when you find a garment that sort of fits the bill, that's like a blend of both of those, I would honestly recommend buying more than one of that garment because these things are like gems, honestly. Another sign that you might be celestial is that the more fabric moves, the better you look, the more yourself you look. So once you've recognized this celestial silhouette, everything suddenly makes sense. Like once you see it, you can't unsee it. It explains why certain items or lines or garments that are allegedly flattering just don't flatter you for some reason. Like your friend, who perhaps is not celestial at all, looks great in a particular trend or garment or shape, and you don't. There's nothing wrong with you. There just wasn't a category in existence until now that explained your body geometry and presence. Being celestial also explains why you may have like a really strong aversion to jumpers or sweaters, as you call them in the US, particularly like bulky knits and things like that. Like jumpers are really difficult for a lot of celestials because, they tend to add bulk. I mean, how could they not? And they just, there's often not a lot of sort of movement or fluidity. So you have to really put in the work to find the ideal knitwear. So if like that's been a real sort of difficult thing for you to figure out and resolve, that's a strong sign that you're celestial. Like some of the other silhouette IDs in my system, some of them absolutely shine in knitwear. But for a celestial, because you need that sense of movement, that sense of weightlessness, how many jumpers are weightless? So that can be a major sign if you sort of if winter starts coming around, you're like, oh, I mean, you sort of bring out the jumpers that you have in your, in your wardrobe, in your drawer, and you're just like, oh, you try it on. Yeah, I've been there. So that is a sign that you're celestial. Another sign is that you look seamless and beautiful in a slip dress, particularly in a sort of silk satin slip dress, particularly if it's a nice long length, like below knee length. Like that is the silk or silky slip dress is a bit of a staple, a bit of a signature piece for people who have high celestial influence in their blend, but don't think it's a sort of a marker of you are or you aren't celestial, because not every person with celestial in their blend shines in a slip dress. I actually don't. So, um, celestial is only my secondary silhouette ID thing. So, slip dress, if you have high celestial, if you lead with celestial, I think a slip dress is going to look pretty damn good on you. And another sign is that you have been sort of, this is like a major sign for those of us who are style nerds who have like obsessed over things like the David Kibbe system. You'll know what I'm talking about. So if you have really sort of not been able to figure out whether you're a Kibbe dramatic or a Kibbe soft dramatic, like people who aren't in our style nerd community will have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about here. But anyway. So if you sort of thought you're sort of a Kibbe dramatic, you're sort of a Kibbe soft dramatic, um, major sign that you're actually a celestial. If sort of like both of those two categories, soft dramatic and dramatic, both have sort of some recommendations that look good on you, but you're sort of like, are you in between the two, or what the hell's going on? Or in my case, I remember when I first got into this Kibbe stuff and style system stuff around the year 2020, one of my style friends said, she was sort of half joking, but she sort of said to me, well, you're a soft dramatic in the face and the top half of your body, and you're a pure dramatic in, from the waist down. And we were sort of just like playing around, but that's actually true, except it can't be true in the Kibbe system. You can't be that. So someone who sort of relates to what I just said, describing myself, may actually well have the celestial silhouette ID in their poeticize your presence blend. Michelle from Destiny's Child is a celestial, and when you see her in photographs with her bandmates Kelly and Beyonce, you see the differences, the subtle differences in their frame and their presence. Michelle is airy. She's tall and lean, just like Kelly, but Michelle has softer edges. She has gentle curves, and she has a softly sculpted, longer face. Supermodel Christy Turlington is another example of a celestial. She has that elongated, softly sculpted face, softly sculpted features, and she's long and sinuous. Although she's lean, she doesn't have sharp edges. So if this video resonated, I've just released the Celestial Glow Up Guide, which is a style guide ebook I've written. Honestly, I poured like my heart and soul into this book. It took a lot of time and effort to put this together, but I love it, and I hope you will love it too. So I've written this book, this ebook. It's 150 pages of deep diving into silhouettes and fabrics and signature outfits and color and what not to buy, what to buy for the Celestial Silhouette ID. And I'll put the link to the book in my thing. I'll put the link to the book below. And if you would like to have your full Silhouette ID blend verified by me and have a silhouette analysis, get your exact percentage breakdown, and you get like a beautiful report that goes with it. There's like 40 pages of detail about you. Um, One of my clients described it as a mix between a style manual and a love letter. That's so sweet. And you also get, like, with that, if you do the Silhouette ID, you get a curated Pinterest board. So you can also do that, and I will put the link to book that below as well. If you'd like to see more videos like these, please subscribe. And this is like my first video on this channel. Like, videos, YouTube, and all that kind of stuff is sort of like is not my comfort zone. So bear with me on this journey. And if you're wondering why I have this like weird sort of flashing light, I think I've stopped the flashing light now on my microphone. This is all sorry. This is all part of like beginning my YouTube journey. Like, I sent one of my younger cousins out. Like, my younger cousin is like, she's all on TikTok, has tens of thousands of followers. So I sent her out to get me a microphone, and this is what she came up with. I have no idea why we have these flashing lights, and I don't know how to turn them off. But I think it kind of vibes with the whole celestial thing. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into my video. Please feel free to comment below. I hope this video has resonated, and if you think you might be a celestial, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know how celestial shows up for you, and see you in the next video.